of Monday, April 13th, 2026. I would like to note that Commissioner Mark Rizzolo is not present. First item is approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
No objections noted. Approval. The next item is public comments. Are there any comments from the public at this time?
Yes, I'm Lynette McCurley, 5679 Susan Avenue. I've started attending meetings since the board's meetings seem to be so contentious, and I wanted to be more informed. I'm finding, though, that it's disheartening as a regular citizen that doesn't sit on any of the commissions that when you look at agendas, it's very difficult to know what's being discussed under each item, and it would be more helpful if they had like an outline format so we could see what each area is. And then when I got here, I scanned the code to see more detail, but there's no way that just sitting here tonight I can be informed and make reasonable comments about much unless I just happen to hear something while you're talking, because I can't get through all that and figure out what's going on with what. One other thing was, I've spoke before, the microphone system either needs to be turned up or you need to be sure that it's right in front of you, because even with my hearing aids, and I have an adapted Bluetooth app, I can't always hear what's being said from the people in front of me. So it's kind of discouraging to want to get involved and then not have resources. I see in the budget that there's a line item for office supplies. I wish there could be some printed copies here for those of us that do come so that we can see instead of having to maneuver through our electronics and try and figure out what's going on.
Okay, thank you for your comments. The next item is the consent agenda involving the last meeting minutes, the GL distribution report, and the March mercantile bill. Are there any comments or questions on those from the board?
Just under the business items with the wayfinding signs, that really is not accurate. That a motion carried with Commissioner Rizzolo abstaining because there was no vote and there was no pronouncement that the motion carried. I watched the meeting back and there was, so I mean, that it's fine to leave it like that, but that really is not what happened at the meeting.
Okay, I do ask for any objections, you know, in our group, that small as we are, to speak up loudly if you do have an objection.
Well, but usually that's done when you take a vote, but you either say yay or nay or...
Well, we can adopt a more formal...
No, I think we just need to, we just need to have a vote and then pronounce that the motion did carry or didn't carry.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I will be on alert to make sure that I assume there's approval from each and every one of you, even though it may be silence. So, okay. Okay, that's noted. On the distribution report, there is a contracted services, again, from Preen and Newhouse, and that is, does that have to do again with the riverfront? And do we obtain monthly reports from them as to what they've done over the month, or?
I don't believe so. It's more so because we don't get a bill from them every month, so it's when work has been done. And I think a big part to like the time when something has happened and it's been a while since we get something back is because of the permits that they're seeking and different approvals. It takes a long time for them to come in. So it might look like they haven't been doing anything, but they're just waiting on somebody else to give them information. So then it's a bigger price tag when it does finally come our way. But we will talk about what the update has been later on today.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Okay, is there?
Just one question, Katie, like, Kirkstra for Robert Morris Park restroom, does that, like the opening of it, or what is that?
Nope, since November, maybe in September, we get a restroom out at Robert Morris.
okay,
So
that's
that's
the
the
rental.
monthly
That's the
one for that, which
Okay.
will end in a couple of months now.
That's the rental.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Any objections? None noted. Okay, motion passed. And then we get to presentations. Are there any presentations? No, none? Then on to business items. The first being the 2025 annual report for the Parks and Recreation Department.
It's gone through a few edits. Hopefully, all the names are spelled correctly. We're happy with where it sits at this point. And then from here, I would take it to the Township Board more as informational. It's not like they need to vote on anything or anything like that, but informational. Thanks.
Do you want a motion to present it to the board, or not? Is that necessary?
I don't remember. Maybe if we formally say yay or nay on it, and then, I don't know. Does anyone remember what we've done in the past?
We usually have a
Yes,
motion.
Okay.
we've usually had a motion to accept it.
Sure.
Everyone's happy with it. So is there a motion to accept the annual report and forward that on to the Township Board?
I will make a motion to accept the annual report and approve it to go to the Township Board.
Any objections? None noted. The motion passed. The next item is special event requests. There are 3 that we have received.
The first one, I was just going in order of timeline of when these would potentially be happening. So the first one is High Tech Electric, and this one I think is a little different. They're asking to use Green Meadow Park. Their business is across the street from the park. I've talked to Alexis a few times just about what that would look like for them. Originally, on their application, they say 800 people, and knowing that the park could not accommodate 800 people parking or otherwise, it sounds like it'd be more overflow parking from their business and our business. She did say that only 100 people have RSVP'd at this point, so I don't see that as being an issue. I think she put on here, did she do that? A bounce house. I told her that 1, the park doesn't have electricity, and 2, that a bounce house would not be allowed. It's an insurance nightmare, it sounds like. So I think this would be a good event, especially for being neighbors across the street. Next step would be asking for a specific site plan and then a copy of their insurance. I have talked to our insurance agent just to make sure that we're clear on that side. And then depending on how things shake out with it being the 29th of May, I would charge a fee to cover extra garbage cans potentially and any staff that need to go out there to do a small setup and check in and tear down.
Okay, this is considered a commercial event activity. It's in Green Meadow Park, which we occasionally rent the ball field. And others walk, in the neighborhood walk, around the area and so on. My only concern was, rare though it might be, just the public wanting to come and play there and, having it reserved, and closed to the public. So that's a larger issue for any kind of full park reservation.
Sure.
And then I always want to go back and look at the mission statement for our parks and make sure that it coheres with those mission points. And, bringing in the neighborhood I like around the area for a particular business, but it is, a business event kind of thing. So it's kind of straddles both areas. What do other people think about that?
So let me just understand this. This company is having a grand opening for a new building.
Yes.
And would they be inviting customers or the general public, or would this be for their employees?
Just their employees and their family.
Their employees and their families. All right, so it'd be kind of like a celebration of this. So some of them would be parking over in their parking lot, and some would perhaps park in the parking lot. Okay. And they know, of course, that there's no restrooms over there.
Yes.
So.
I'm thinking that they just want a little extra green space for this grand opening, it being
And
on.
would the food and the beverages be over there?
It sounds like the only thing they're trying to have is just the overflow parking. She had mentioned non-alcoholic beverages, and I don't know if she's going to try to replace a bounce house. It didn't sound like it. So before I asked for some of these other things, I just wanted to see if it would be approved before, asking for insurance, that sort of thing.
I don't see why it wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it. My only concern was people crossing the street. I'm assuming they would be not liable, but they would handle that
Sure.
sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
They're
that
just
wouldn't be
looking for
on
a
us.
place to park. Okay.
Yep.
So you're going to get more information and then bring it back to us, or do you need us to say?
I need you to say yes or no,
Okay.
unless you do have more questions, of course, and then I can try to go back and forth.
Is there anything in my information that tells me anything about this?
I did not include the special event request from them just because it has more personal information from the business than I wanted to include for the public.
Okay, but maybe next time when you bring stuff back, there'll be some information that I can see. Yes.
I would have to look at what I could have included to leave out like personal information, things like that.
Are you aware that you can look online and you can see the agenda packet as well as the?
That's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
On the phone.
Yeah, okay.
And there's nothing for this.
This was. But the rest of it, you can, I just didn't know if you knew that you could see the.
I am, it's just hard to navigate
Yeah.
on a phone.
I understand. I feel the same way.
Okay, well, one thing I'm thinking of is when we have groups come in to our various parks, there's usually the pavilion rental. We've had gatherings at Robert Morris, especially with larger groups, but it hasn't negated other public members coming in to enjoy the park as they usually would. And so I want to understand, this isn't closing the park only to this venue, is it?
I wouldn't be closing the park, but I do agree it would be hard to access by car if they end up taking up parking for most of the day.
Okay, but it is not.
It won't
We're
be
not
closed.
closing the parks to the public, so that's the main point.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, is there a motion to approve the request with the caveats of follow-up that you
Yeah,
need?
they do need to provide a copy of their insurance, and I will need a site plan from them.
I move to approve this request from what, TriTech, is that what it is?
High-tech electric.
High-tech electric company for the use of the Green Meadow Park.
Okay, are there any objections? None noted. Motion passed. Okay.
Okay, the next one is community living options. This is at Robert Morris Park on June 19th. Theirs is also a company summer picnic sort of thing. Their first initial request included things like a bounce house and things that aren't allowed at the park. So I did have a conversation with him about that. The bottom part with my notes tell you what they were planning on trying to do instead. One thing, so the same thing, I would need a site plan. They would need to give us a copy of their insurance. And then my plan was to charge them for the pavilion and the visitors to still come into the park, but I wasn't going to charge an extra fee because, well, staffing will be there. 125 people isn't really outside our normal scope. I don't have to have extra staff or anything like that. And with it being a nonprofit, I thought that would be the way to go for this one.
You have a note here, no access to buildings.
Yes, so in their request, they had thought the concessions building was more of a, I can go into this building and have, I don't want to say a refrigerator, things like that. It sounded like even if it rained, they were planning on having people inside that building. So that was a conversation about no access into the building. They might use a company to set up a pop-up or a tent canopy, and I told them that they would have to pay for it. We would determine the location of that tent, and that was a little up in the air whether or not they were going to do that.
Okay, and what about restrooms?
The restrooms would be open
Yeah,
at that
as
time.
the rest of the park?
Yes.
Whomever comes,
Yep.
okay. Okay. So it's more like an expanded pavilion rental?
Yes, I like these for basically a heads up that we're going to have more anticipated people than normal, that they're trying to do something a little bit bigger for their group, which I think is fine, knowing ahead of time and being able to accommodate those things.
When we've had churches use it for like a church picnic or party, have we always, they still have to pay an admission fee, or did we kind of have a blanket price, or?
I believe we've always had the same entrance fee policy, so they can buy them ahead of time at a discounted rate. If they're buying at the time of the event, then it's the full price.
And they were okay with that? They know they're?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a motion on this request?
Excuse me, I'll make a motion to approve the special event request by CLO at Robert Morris Park.
Okay. No objections noted? Any objections?
Nope.
No? Okay, motion passed.
Okay, the last one is Great Lakes Disc Golf Tournament. Again, it's at Robert Morris Park. The thing about this one, it would be out of our season on September 20th. They are looking for a pavilion rental along with it. So because it is outside of our season, I would end up having to pay staff to come back. So the idea would be, I did the math on how much staff would be, include what a pavilion cost would be. So it would be $475 to rent the pavilion, have staff there to revise the event. And then they would also have to pay that admission fee in, although I do anticipate a lot of these people would have the annual pass.
And restrooms?
The restrooms would be open at that point. We wouldn't have to winterize them quite that early.
Okay. Okay.
I'll move to approve the special request for Robert Morris Park usage by Great Lakes Disc Golf. Is it a league?
It's its own,
Okay.
yeah, I know I want to say something. Disc golf.
Great Lakes Disc Golf.
Okay, no objections? Okay, motion passed. Okay. The next item on the agenda is Merrill Park River's Edge project.
So this will coincide with the invoice that we had from Prine and Newhoff, and Brett met with them on a couple of other things, so I asked him if he could give the update on this project.
Sure. So as Katie said, Scott and the superintendent and I met with Mike and Tom from Prine and Newhoff the other day about various projects the township has going on, and one of them was the Merrill Park River's Edge project. And Mike let us know that he has had all initial conversations with Eagle. They're actually excited about the project. They like what we're trying to do with the brick and making a more natural looking shoreline. So that's positive. And then he said, based on the permitting, we'd be looking at going for the grant, if we decide to go forward with it, applying for the grant sometime in 2027 for 2028 construction. So about a year later than what we were kind of thinking, but he said all the meetings he's had have been positive, and but it still takes at least 6 months to get Eagle permits because they want to come on site and check everything out, make sure if we end up putting, this has to come in front of the board, obviously, but he said if we end up putting a permanent dock, they're going to want to know about that. However, if we decide to put a kayak launch, if that's going to be permanent or floating, there's some positives and negatives for both ways. So I'm hoping that at some point he can come and just give the board an in-person update about kind of what the timeline would look like. And we're going to have to decide, I guess, everything we want to put into the park. At least, especially if we're going for a grant, just put in everything and see what sticks. There's a couple of different grants as well, waterway grants and not DNR, what is it now? DNR grants, yeah. Stuff like that. So, all in all, positive progress. But it is pushed back to applying next year. Oh, and he said based on, there is a project that they just completed in Plainfield Township that's pretty similar to ours. And it was about, I think he said it ended up being about $600,000. So a lot, I was thinking over $1 million. So I guess that's also positive. And any grant would probably be 50% match. So that's kind of what we're looking at least in today's dollars. I don't know what it's going to look like in 2028, but.
Where is this other?
Plainfield Township, up
Plainfield.
northeast of Grand Rapids, I believe. Or is it south? I can't remember. It's around Grand Rapids. It's in Kent County.
And so then the lead time for grant applications to going through everything and to bring that to fruition is about how long?
I don't know what the award timeline is, but if we apply in 27 spring, then by the time, he said by the time you get everything back, it's going to be late fall, so you wouldn't be able to start until 28 with actual construction, because it takes that long for the grants to come through. And permitting, like he said. But he did say we may be able to, depending on what we want to do, start applying for the permits ahead of time so that they're ready to go when we apply for the grant. That could speed the timeline up, but again, he's going to have to come and talk to the board and get everyone's opinion on what we're looking at for the park.
Okay. And
I can see
when might he do that?
Well, I can ask if you want him to come in and I think he's open to whatever. If you want him to come next meeting, I could probably do that. If he has enough to update, I can ask him.
But you won't be here the next one, right?
I won't be here, correct, yeah. In May.
Who submits the, who actually works on the grants on our behalf? I mean, Prine and Newhoff?
Prine and Newhoff, yeah, is going to prepare them. I think they'll have input from Katie as well, but.
But they would actually do
Yep, as part of the service that the bid that we approved, I guess, as part of that, they'd be submitting the grant.
Okay,
So.
well, whenever there's information, and of course, we need you here too, I think.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I can see if he'll come.
We don't want to get too far ahead of
Right.
ourselves here.
I'll talk to him and find out when, kind of feel things out, like when he wants to come in and talk to the board, if it's sooner than later. But and I can also ask him, what kind of things do we need to decide, even without him here, to give him information to move forward. And then I can bring that to the next meeting. Like, here's the things we need to work out.
That'd be good. Okay. Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the quote, "old football field," end quote, property management. And have an update?
A couple of things, just from over the winter, noticed that the area isn't being well taken care of by our homeless population, and one of the possible fixes is by clearing out some of the trees to help with visibility of the area. And then this will get us ready to do something with that area when we decide what we want to do with it. I know we've talked about an archery range as itself. We've talked about an archery range with something along with it. I'm not entirely sure how much all this is going to be, but I think prepping the area will be a good start in fixing a couple of problems for us. And then the second part of this is wondering if we want to start talking about what we want to name this area, or if it's going to stick as the old football field. Just a couple of those things. So I'm asking for approval to start getting how much money it's going to cost to clear out this area, and then I would bring those numbers back. I'd assume it's going to be more than $5,000 to do something like that. But before I went out and did that, just wanting to make sure that we're on the same page of that's something that we even want to do.
Well, we've talked about archery there, of course, but, you know, going back to the master plan and the list of things that people might want to do, you know, what else could we bring into that area that would be useful? Or do we have to think about surveying people again, perhaps for other, you know, sports or activities?
I would think that we could look at the master plan. We just did it, what was that, last year? So I feel like the surveys are pretty new to what people are looking for. I know the archery range is on there. The area doesn't have an archery range close. So talking to the people who do the clinics, that's something that they are interested in. I think it would bring people into the community. I see it as another revenue source because it's not going to be just free to come into. Depending on how big of an area it actually is, if we go, you know, full scale, that we could actually host tournaments there, be more of a site for something like that. Or if we do want to keep it a little smaller, just having a small range for people to use, and then doing the things like, I think fitness is on the master plan survey. My mind is blank. I know that one sticks out to me. More hiking trails, which I don't know if would be a great place there.
Yeah, I still have questions about connecting it up to Neil or over to Pier. You know, how can we?
I don't know if we can do that. I don't know if we have the property, the easements to be able to do anything like that.
It's something we might be able to approach those who hold the properties, you know, to get easements, but sure, that would be nice to tie it all together.
Yeah, two comments for me. First, I think the biggest decision is, as Katie alluded to, if you want this to be a full-size official archery range, that's probably the only thing you're going to have there, because it's going to take up the entire park. If you're looking to do other things there, you may have to consider a smaller, just the clinic type stuff, and then another fitness, like a walking with fitness stations, or I know a skate park has come up, we say that all the time, but I don't know if there's any interest in that anymore, but that could fit there with a walking path around it. So I think that's the major decision, is what kind of archery range do you want to have? A full size, let's do. And then if you're going to have only archery there, then we need to probably step up the programming, as you said, and use it more than just it sitting there like it is now, that sort of thing. And two, part of Katie included the survey in here. We're going to have to use the survey along with the easement and figure out what exactly we can use for the entrance, and then hire someone to kind of clear that out, as well as the part that Katie's talking about, just to be able to get in there. And there, we do have an easement, a 30-foot easement from the property owner to the south. And Mike from Pride and Newhoff was unsure if we needed to ask permission, but we're probably going to, just to be out of respect for the property to clear. We don't need to clear the entire area, but there is going to, the way the road comes in, we're going to have to clear something out that belongs to somebody else in our easement. So that we're going to, I think that's a rental, so we'll have to write that person a letter, the owner, to see if we can get permission for that. But that'll all be in the cost before we do anything Well, we'll get permission first and then, but before anything's actually done, we'll have costs for that.
Okay, it seems that if archery is the main goal, to set that up, then the name might go along with something with archery, just a suggestion. Okay, so you're looking for,
I don't know if I need approval to move forward with this, or how you want to handle that.
and you're requesting to remove some of the trees and clear out the area?
Correct.
Assuming it's going to be under the 5,000 limit?
No,
or
I think it's
maybe
going to be
above?
well above the
Well above.
5,000, but I want to start off with, is this actually a project that we want to do? And then I'll come back with the quotes that I do get, and we'll select then and try to get on a schedule and move forward that way. So you do still have a point where like, oh, this is way too much money, or I've decided that's not what I want to do, and then it would be halted at that point. But right now, I'm just trying to see what it was going to cost. Is this something that we want to do?
If you had some
Can you?
if you had different companies come out and give you a bid on removing trees, who would be there to direct them as to what needs to be removed? I mean, do you have a,
I have the survey, so between myself and I would ask our ordinance officer, because he knows the area
Okay.
very well, and then we have, if I already said this, we have our survey as well to know
so you know
where our
very
boundaries are.
specifically what, how many and what, and
Right.
what
Yes.
area? Okay.
Yes.
With your ties with the archery groups and the association, I guess, in there, what, have you followed up with any of them as to what ideas they have on it for expansion of such a facility in our township? And, in general, what would they?
One thing that I notice is all of the tournaments are on the east side of the state, and it's very hard to convince any, in our small group at this point, to go all the way to the east side of the state for a couple of hours when it's, I guess kids do those kinds of things these days. But my thought is if we had something on this side of the state, maybe we could serve a different population, get more people to come over to this side than always having, your only option is go to the east side of the state. There are a couple of archery range in our area, but none close enough to us, I guess. And then just different, one of them is indoors and they have limited hours, just none kind of close to us. And I think that would just kind of open up just another area for us. Not having to stick to clinics, then it's getting, people can go there, practice before opening season starts. Just kind of different avenues that way. An actual facility for us to hold our clinic, so we're not transferring it all around town would be nice. Having just more open shooting so they're not just tied. You can only use our archery range when we set it up. The setup and tear down is wearing on our equipment. It's just a hassle sometimes.
Okay, so a larger range that would be suitable for tournaments would take up then the entire old football field area, correct?
I think so.
But it would, and then folks coming over for parking and so on.
Right, it would include parking the whole facility to do that.
Okay.
I think it was, I'm losing track of my years now, but I think it was 2 years ago we started. I'm not sure if people had applied for this April 1st deadline recently, but there was a subgroup of the Archery and Parks Committee that looked at, we want an archery range in our community. How do we go about doing this? They did a sample application for the grant. They hired a company, it's on the east side of the state, but they hired a company to give them the plans for what would a facility like this cost, what would the specifications on engineering be. So I have a lot of that, not that I think we should use the east side of the state company, but having some of that information ahead of time to kind of walk us through building a facility like that.
Okay, well, it seems like yourself and others that participate here would like to champion such a
I believe so.
facility. Okay. Okay, is there a motion to start with step one and see what trees we can remove?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to start the partial tree removal and investigate.
Okay.
You're not really starting the tree removal, you're just coming back with with an estimate as to what it would cost.
Correct. I will get at least 2 companies to give me a quote on how much it would be to do this project, and then I will come back, whether it's the May meeting or the following one, come back with those quotes, let you know what they were, what it all entails, and then ultimately you can make the decision at that point whether we move on with this project.
Okay, is there a motion to proceed as described?
Motion to proceed as described.
And no objections? Okay, motion carried. Okay, the next item is removable speed bumps.
I've noticed, especially at Robert Morris, and then when the office moved over here, looking at Merrill and with this farmer's market, people drive very, very fast in and out of Merrill Park and with Robert Morris Park in the long entry drive. Doing a little bit of research, it would cost about $630 per park to put 2 speed bumps in with a sign alerting people that it's going to happen. I talked to our maintenance, he doesn't see a problem with it. They are removable, so in the winter, we would obviously remove them so the snowplow could get through. To me, it just is an added safety feature for both of these parks. And since I was kind of changing something with the park, I thought the board would approve it before I just went ahead and did it.
Okay, have you noticed speeding?
Yes. Both in and out of both parks. The guard shack is a little scary because there is a person standing there. The hill, so low visibility. And then with Merrill, I think people just aren't really thinking about it because it is kind of a wide parking lot and people going in and out, but there are people who are crossing from like the park side to the parking lot or from the park side to the fire memorial. It might be annoying to people, but I think it would certainly slow people down, and a stop sign isn't going to do it.
Do you have any pictures or anything of what these things look like? Or?
I did not include pictures.
Okay.
Joe did some measurements, our maintenance, and they would be 7 feet because of how wide the Merrill stretch is. Robert Morris would be the same. So putting 2 in for coming and going, and then a sign on either for coming and going, alerting people that there is a speed bump coming. But they're black, they're got a little yellow paint on it for visibility caution.
So if they're removable, would it be something that could be vandalized and removed?
No, it would just be that we would be able to.
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
there wouldn't be a way for people.
Right.
And that was my question, how they're secured.
Yeah.
So if they're removable, then is that removable by anyone or?
I think people are removing anything they want these days,
Right.
but I would think that the way that it is, they shouldn't just be able to come over and pick it up.
Yeah.
It's I'm gonna say a large nail, like a spike that's driven into the speed bump and then into the concrete to secure it.
I mean, that's asphalt, right, and over there?
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, it
Right.
would,
yes, it probably says asphalt, I just said concrete.
yeah, no, I just,
Yeah.
because I was wondering if it was gravel or asphalt.
Right,
but
yeah.
It is,
Yes,
okay.
and so is Robert Morris.
So does that wreck the asphalt then to kind of drive, I mean, doesn't make any difference?
I wouldn't think it's not gonna be a very big thing going into the ground. So, yeah.
I wonder if there's any around here anywhere that, I mean, does anybody else have them in their parking lots that you know of, or have you seen this? I'm just,
No, you're fine. It's like, my mind goes blank. I'm not sure.
yeah. Okay.
I was just looking for a way to slow people down. First, I was like, Merrill or Robert Morris needs one. And then as I'm thinking about this, I'm looking at Merrill Park and I'm like, sitting there during the farmer's market, just seeing how quickly people will go. It's just, can be terrifying.
And would that be placed up near the fireman's memorial kind of?
I was actually thinking, I don't know if anyone can see the park fairly well, but there's the second garage closer to the fire memorial, and there's a sign right there. I was thinking in that area because then people aren't going to be able to get up enough speed before they get to that spot, and then after they go over the speed bump, they're hitting a curve. So to me, that would be a good placement to prevent it on either side without having to put more than one there. With Robert Morris, I'd have to look at it a little bit more, but the same idea of really thinking through when are people going to try to be getting out of there and coming down, and then where the guard shack is, but it would be near the guard shack.
Anyone else think first?
Is there any, I don't know, I mean, is there any concern, like, from the insurance company, you know, if somebody damages their car, that they could come back and, I don't know, I'm just,
I did not ask the insurance agency. I didn't think about that one, but if that's something that you would like me to ask them.
well, I just don't know if that's ever a consideration that.
I would hope not, because they're even on the road, they're in
Yeah,
neighborhoods.
anybody's entitled to put
Right.
in a speed bump that
Right.
wants to.
I think if we didn't have a sign telling people that it's coming, that might be a little more negligent, but.
I just don't know how that works.
Sure.
I always think of the what ifs.
Oh, no, absolutely. That's what you're here for.
Okay, and you're looking for,
I think so, just because I'm adding something to the park, maybe getting a motion to actually do it.
okay, is there a motion to require speed bumps?
Just a question. You said that was $630 per park or per speed bump?
Per park.
Per park.
That would include the speed bump and the signage for it, and the post to put the sign on.
And they can be installed by our.
Correct, yep. If you could give me a little wiggle room, because I didn't necessarily think about shipping, but about $630.
Yeah, well, I mean, either way, it falls under your $5,000
Oh, sure,
limit. So I
sure.
think we can just approve it without saying what the dollar amount is, I suppose.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I move we approve the purchase of removable speed bumps for Robert Morris Park and Merrill Park at an approximate cost of $630 per park.
Okay, the next item is reports and correspondence. Have we received any correspondence?
No.
Do you want to ask for objections? I think that's one. Just in case we move. Just in case.
I'm sorry. I was looking
No.
for facial. None, okay, then the motion passes, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, reports and correspondence, none. That brings us to the revenue. Sorry, it goes off. To the revenue and expenditure report and the director's report. So with the revenue and expenditure report, are there any comments or questions? So is it correct here that 14.66% of our budget has been used in expenditures as of the end of March?
Correct.
That's pretty good. So, it's very good. Okay. Are there questions? No?
Are we on to the director's report?
No, I'm moving right on to it. Okay. For the director's report, that's next. And go ahead, Judy.
Ball field fencing stolen from backstop at Green Meadow Park.
Yeah, it was really sad.
Was that reported? Was a police report made?
We did not. We looked at it from a couple of different angles. It wasn't, the repair wasn't enough to claim it on insurance, and we're never going to get it back. And it was just, we have a note of it that it happened, but to go through calling the police about it didn't seem like the right thing to do. Unless you would like me to. I do know that I didn't have to necessarily do it that day, that I could always go back and report it later, but.
I thought at one point we had agreed that when there was vandalism or theft, that it was.
Yeah, we make an incident report because, there could be follow-up with the businesses nearby. Was any activity out there that they saw and so on, but. The other question that comes to mind is, it takes a long time to take something like that down. So, how often do we go by that park, you know, in the off-season?
Joe's out there at least 3 times a week.
Okay.
And I think we saw it on a Monday, must have been a Monday.
I saw it gone
Saw
on
it
Monday?
gone on Monday, yep.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, we do want to track it well and just, you know,
Okay,
alert
okay.
the
I will do that
ordinance
tomorrow.
officers.
I mean, especially if there's been other vandalism in the same area, then they, you know, at least they are aware of it. They maybe, hopefully make a little bit more effort to control through there. I don't know if that's reasonable, but. And then the other question is about the pickleball courts. Gate was, the gate to the court itself was kicked in. And the padlock, I mean, was it one of those keypads or was it?
It was just a regular padlock, so they like kicked it in, and if you think about how like the gate opens and closes like this, that was like widened, and Joe was able to just like fix it so it's the same one, so it can still open and close easily, and we took the padlocks off of them now, so if somebody wants to go in there, they don't have to break down the gate.
What's the status of the camera there?
It's on, it's just a trail camera, and it does not see much at all, so you can't see anything on the camera from this day.
So what is the point of the camera if you can't see anything?
We didn't buy it new, it was not being used, so we thought we would put it up to at least have something, but again, it goes back to there's no like trees or anywhere to fix this camera to, so we put it where we could, and it's trying to catch the parking lot, but there's just not a good placement until we,
In the restroom area?
yeah. So unless we decide that ultimately we do want to put cameras there, we do want to put some kind of post or something to be able to mount these cameras. But then it just kind of goes back to, are we even going to catch anything if somebody does something? At just kind of that rabbit hole of what is the right thing to do. So in this situation, it didn't really cost us anything to fix what was there. There was also the like motorcycle tire marks. We haven't planted grass there yet, so it's not damaging in any way. Ultimately, when we do put grass down, the idea is to put big boulders down like we have at Merrill, so somebody wouldn't necessarily be able to do that depending on how big their motorcycle is to get past there, but do what we can, but ultimately people are kind of going to do what they do.
Have any of the neighbors been approached, you know, to like report anything they might see? Or I know there's the one house that's close by, maybe two, but
Sure.
just to,
No.
I guess encourage people to report things.
That would be nice.
And then there's also the bus garage over on the other side. You know, there has to be a lot of people around there when they're using the buses and parking the buses, and just to kind of keep an eye out would be good.
Sure.
So Cooper Park? Which one?
I think I'm thinking it was the same time frame. I'm guessing it was the same person went to Cooper and did it and then went to, or vice versa.
Parking signs stolen?
Yes, that also happened.
So-
And that gets stolen every time we put one up.
So,
Again,
reported it all?
No, again, I did not report it.
Is it a sign that we've provided, or is it a sign that the road commission provided?
It's ours.
And what is the cost to replace that?
I don't know specifically. I know based on our speed bump signs, the signs are between 30 and 50, and then a post was between 40 and 60. So depending on if Joe has any posts that he's not using right now, we can always do something like that. But in the past, we hadn't put one back up, and then we had a resident ask for the sign, so we put it back up, and it's gone again.
You might want to put up a non-aluminum or non-metal sign. It could be that it's being pilfered for metal.
Okay.
So,
What would be the alternative, like a?
just wood, painted wood sign or, yeah. Robert Morris Park, the old maintenance building, old bathroom sinks were leaking and cut off supply. Was that something that's going to be addressed?
So we don't need the water that was going into the old bathrooms, and it was just discovered at this time when they de-winterized the park that it was causing an issue for them to turn the water on, and they found the leaking, and at that point, they cut off the water to at least that one bathroom.
Okay, so the question is,
It was just informational, that it was just that it was something that happened that came up in the job that they were doing, and I thought it would be interesting to know for you.
okay, but it's not used. So
It is, no, it's not used.
it's not used, okay. All right. I like how the sign looks
It is very nice.
with the cemetery in Hill Street Park. Looks good. Okay, and also, I just wanted to make a note, the splitting of the posts at Winkie softball field.
Yep.
That's due to rotting wood, basically, or?
I think that, I would kind of be guessing. I'm guessing part of it is rot. I think the bottom could potentially have to do with lawnmowers and weed whackers not being nice, but I don't think any single thing has attributed to this. I think we also figured out they've been up for a couple decades, so just normal wear and tear with the wind, the weather conditions, that sort of thing. I think in the past I've mentioned that at least a couple of them would need to be replaced, so this is your information for that, that on field 3, that one definitely needs to be replaced. What that looks like right now, I don't know what we want to do. And then there's 3 others that have some damage to it, and I've kind of listed that for you. It'd be nice if they were all on one field and we could just do one field and go that way, but they're kind of spread out. The field 4, kind of going ahead of myself a little bit, but that would be a field where I don't think we would put field lights on that field. So if we did need to take that post down, we would just take it down and not replace. Field 3 is one that we're talking about replacing, and field 2 was kind of lower on the list, so that could be another one where we just take down and not replace. But I think focusing on field 1 and 3 are the idea. Depending on how much it costs, field 3, we might just need to take that pole down before something terrible happens, and then just focus on field 1 doing whatever it is that we decide that we want to do with it.
Okay, moving on to the program report.
Katie just is getting very, very busy. Everything kind of starts to open up. I think she's doing a really good job with a lot of stuff that we have, a lot of different things, doing a lot of outreach with different organizations and talking to different organizations to figure out how it'll work here. We also, I can't remember if she put this on here or not, we did meet with the library recently, and they have a new programming person that replaced the person that we used to work with, and that was a really good meeting. Looks like we'll continue to do the things that we have done, and they've been talking a lot about different things that they can partner with to do more things.
It's good to see that the Kalamazoo Nature Center is coming for the invasive plant program
Yep, that'll start up in
in May.
May.
Right? Looking forward to that.
Yep, we have, I think, 3 volunteers so far. And then a couple more that I know should be coming with friends. They just haven't signed up yet.
Okay, great. A lot in progress, looks good. Any other comments?
Just a question, hiring of seasonal help's been going okay, or?
Okay is a good word. Okay is a good word. I think I have 3, I think it's 3 and a returner, or, I think that's right. Hired 3, a returner from last year. And then park manager, I interviewed one person last week, and he's coming back this week to meet at the park with Joe and Katie, kind of as a final interview.
Are there any member comments or announcements? None? Noted. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn the meeting at 6:56 PM.
Any objections? None noted. Motion passed. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming.